Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. And we are on season 3. How exciting this is. So, Jasmine, tell me, how have you been?
Yes, I'm very good. I'm very, very busy. I have a million and one things to do, but don't all women over the age of 30, to be fair. So I'm sure you can all relate to that. But other than that, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Like, for everybody that doesn't know, Jasmine is also running her own pageant this year. So if you haven't checked it yet, go to the International Miss UK Instagram website and check everything that she's doing with this pageant. It's going to be fantastic.
And you are going to be walking the stage. So
Yes. So I'm good. I'm very good. Like, very busy as well these past few weeks. Quite tiring. It's getting very, very, very cold. But let me introduce you what we're going to be talking about today. So we have a very special guest, very different from all the guests that we have interviewed, and something that I have just realized that, oh no, Oliver, I don't have my ring on. Oliver, bring my ring. Bring my ring.
I'm now thinking, is she for real?
Give me my ring.
I love how he's just ready there waiting for if you need him. That's wonderful. Definitely marrying the right person.
Okay, well, I'll continue while he brings my ring.
He is a good egg.
So
He is a good egg.
we have Alex Wainwright today with us. She is the founder of The Bride in Mind, The Bridal Laughed, and The Bridal... Oh, there we go.
There he is.
My ring is the Bridal Retreat. So she's a bridal and wedding coach. And this is why suddenly I realized I don't have my ring on. And we're going to be talking about brides and weddings, and I'm recently engaged, so that's why I said, like, this is a very special episode as well. So
yes,
welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much. This is perfect for you.
Yes,
this is perfect for you. You can just ask all the questions and get them all out, and get wedding ready.
Exactly.
Oh my God. But thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So we always obviously I did like a really tiny intro. Who knows better about yourself than you, Alex? So can you give our audience like a little intro of who you are, what you do, before we start the interview?
Now, I'll try and keep this quite succinct because I could talk like you girls probably can for hours. So I started my bridal coaching business back in 2020 when I was a bride myself. So I was a COVID era bride. Got engaged in May 2019 and we were due to get married September 2020. So obviously COVID entered into our world in January, February, March time. I can't remember now, it seems so long ago. And it was deemed very stressful by a lot of people who were obviously planning at that time. Now, just to give you a bit of background, my sort of previous roles have always involved mindset coaching. So through business, through sales, through marketing, I've always sort of intertwined the mindset techniques that I implement myself daily into those sort of roles I've been in previously. So it just became very apparent that there was nothing that supported wellness or a bride's mindset, especially through the time that we were obviously planning. But in general, there was nothing to support like the wellness and sort of the holistic planning of brides. So 2020 obviously came around and it was hard. Like, I will never say that it wasn't a difficult period of time for people that were getting married. However, the things that were sort of controlling our days, so it was government saying what you could and couldn't do. It was friends and family asking whether they were still invited to your day or not. And it was kind of not really knowing what your day was going to look like and what restrictions were going to be in place. So those stresses that were on so many couples, it was very uncertain. It's that unknown that obviously adds the stress that we all find in day-to-day scenarios. So I didn't find it stressful though, because I knew and I set boundaries very early on, which is what I tell a lot of my clients to do. And actually, when I set the coaching business up, what I found was that even now that COVID's gone, those external pressures still very much exist. So, family, friends, budget pressures, societal pressures. social media pressures, Pinterest, comparisons of people's weddings that you've been to previously. It is very heightened. So I thought that my role as a coach through when it started in COVID would probably stop in COVID, but it just continued to grow, and it became a very sort of needed tool for a lot of brides. And I obviously find my brides when they are getting married, but everything that I teach them, it actually benefits their day-to-day life moving forward through into married life as well. I still work with people that have become mums, started their own businesses. So it's real life techniques that I try and teach, but it just comes at a time when, you're planning your wedding because it feels very heightened emotionally. So, and then obviously all the other bits that you touched on, I am very, what's the word? I'd say busy. Like my head never switches off. And although, like, obviously, we talk about having children and what have you, apparently that's not slowed me down. That's just made me go even further. So the bridal lab, the retreats, obviously the coaching, that's where it started. But the retreats, everything was online when I first started. And obviously we couldn't have those interactions, and weddings were obviously very small or didn't happen. So when we could go out and speak to everybody again, I really wanted to focus on that community element because yes, I love the online space and I obviously work on social media, but that online interaction, it isn't as strong as obviously those relationships you make in person, which is where the retreats came from. And retreats are such a big thing now, like you guys all know. It's massive. There's a retreat for everything. But there was nothing for brides. And I just thought this is such an opportunity to bring people together that may feel isolated when they're getting married. And they might not have anyone they can turn to or talk to. They might think they're boring their family and friends. So I thought I'll just bring them all together in a really luxury sort of setting, throw goodie bags at them, which they love, and put on a 2-day event that's, full of sort of planning techniques, but also wellness and skincare. And it's a beautiful sort of weekend, and they all love it and thrive on it. So yeah, and then the bridal lab is a supplier base to basically help brides that don't know where to begin, and to sort of encourage them that, wedding planning doesn't need to be stressful if you surround yourself with the right people. So I do a lot. I could talk weddings all day. It's a little snippet.
I feel like, where were you when I got married is the first thing, because I got married years ago. So I never had anything like this when I got married. Although I have been since, like, I'd probably been married for about a year when I started suggesting to my husband that we renew our vows. So you never know.
Yes.
He keeps saying, not yet. You can't do it yet. So we'll see when it's an appropriate time for us to do it.
I'm all for the vow renewal. We got married, so ended up getting married 3 years ago. And I'm like, come on, let's, I think I'll probably go at 10. Maybe not 5, we'll do 10. But yeah, it's a real sort of, people don't fully understand that this time of their life, it's quite, what's the word? It's very immersive, but you need to be very intentional when you are planning your wedding, because it's very overwhelming. It's very daunting. 85% of people have never got married before. So if you're entering into a space where you've got no idea what to expect, and you've got this budget in mind, and then a caterer comes along and says, no, actually, it's going to cost you £15,000 to cater for your event, and you've factored in £7,000, it's then, where am I going to find that extra £8,000 from? And it's knowing that you're not supposed to know that, because you're not in the wedding industry. So having that sort of education, which is what I sort of, try and hammer home and really intertwine in all the stuff that I do, it's really important to be prepared when you are planning. Because a lot of that preparation, going back to when we're at school and you're revising for exams, that preparation is what takes that stress away, and you own that situation then. So a lot of the stuff I do is about pre-stuff. So pre-wedding fairs, pre-dress shopping, pre-planning and getting your budget really nailed down, and then sort of understanding the environment, and then moving forward and finding your suppliers from there. So it is needed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you kind of like fell into it when you were preparing for your wedding. You didn't think this was going to be your career moving forward. So
No idea.
when you were a kid, what were you dreaming of being? What was your plan?
It's so funny that you asked this, because when I tell you what my degree's in, you'll be like, what? So I always knew, as a child, as a teen, I always knew I wanted to help people. That's all I knew I wanted to do. I didn't know how that was going to come to life. I didn't know what I was going to end up doing. So when I was in junior school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. Loved dolphins. Dolphins were my love. Loved them. Then I went to high school and I wanted to be a dentist.
A dentist for dolphins.
Dentist for dolphins. Did work experience with a dentist and thought, this is the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. It was the lack of sort of mass conversation that I definitely missed within a dental sort of setting. No offense to any dentist, because I actually love going to the dentist, because I think they're going to make your teeth nice and better. So anyway, I ended up going to university and doing civil engineering. Guys, don't fall off your chair. Do not fall off your chair. So ended up doing civil engineering, which was, I'd say 97% was a male orientated degree. I bet there was about 5 girls on the course, which I thought at that time, I thought, oh, this is great. You know, I'm one of few, give you loads of opportunity. And anyway, I did really well in my degree. I've got no idea how. I believe I manifested that degree. Anyway, I then went to work on, can we swear on here? Can we swear? Yeah. Okay, good. I went to work on a shit farm, right? I worked on a sewage plant. Yes. So I was stood there one day and there was raw sewage flying past me, and I thought, what am I doing here? What am I actually doing here? And I'll tell this story because I tell everybody, and it's vile, but it's very, very worthwhile knowing. There is a skip on sewage plants for just sweet corn. Yeah. Yes, I know.
Sweet corn. Why is that?
Sweet corn, because your body doesn't digest it. So it just
I love sweet corn.
There you go.
The whole skip on your own.
Yeah. You'll think differently. I know you'll think differently about it now when you next see it. So then I thought, no, this is not for me. So I then went into the office and I did a bit more design work, which was a bit better, a bit more, sort of creative. And then ended up leaving that, and I then went to work in pharmaceutical selling. So I worked for big pharmaceutical companies. But the tie to the wedding industry for me, which I forgot to mention, was when I was 20, from leaving school, I did wedding makeup. So I was in the wedding industry from being very young, and I saw you went from being a total stranger to somebody when you met them for the first time, then being with them on their wedding day, and you were like, they were your friend. And to see them go through such, a big, big part of their life, I always loved that. So the wedding makeup had got me into it right back when I was about 18. So anyway, I left obviously sales, and then I went to work in the bridal shop, where I found my dress. So that's how I re-entered into the wedding industry. So I found my dress in September 2019, and I somehow me and that shop just were meant to sort of be in some way. And I ended up going back on numerous occasions. I'd leave a water bottle, I'd leave all sorts, and they were like, Alex, do you just want to work with us? I was like, yeah, cool, great. So I went on to their marketing team, did social media for them, marketing, sales, and really fell in love with being part of that bride's journey. Obviously helped many a bride find her dress. And I was really able, because I was engaged at that time, it was very relatable. My journey was their journey, and we just had so much in common. And it really sort of gave me a big eye on that a lot of these brides were struggling, and a lot of these brides felt very on their own. So I then, through COVID, thought I need to help. And here comes that word, help. So I thought, this is my opportunity to help people. And everybody was very vulnerable. Everybody was very, as I say, isolated. Everybody felt on their own. And I sort of somehow fell into this beacon role for brides, where I was their positivity, and I was positively spinning the situations. I was giving them different ways of looking at things, helping them with all issues that they were facing, decisions they were making, and it just felt right. And then obviously COVID went. I thought, is this going to change? Like, am I not going to be needed anymore? But that wellness conversation, that self-care conversation that is now on everybody's lips, carried on. And everything that I implemented through COVID and through planning my own wedding was all about working on that. And if you fix that, you fix your entire environment and everything benefits. So the conversation was still very current and very much needed. So yeah, it's just gone from strength to strength from there, really.
It's funny because I feel like when we look back, we can see the connections between everything that's happened to us, and it's like it always feels like there's always like these links that bring everything together. But as you were going through that journey to get to where you are now, were there moments when you were in previous roles that didn't feel like the right fit and stuff, where you felt a bit kind of helpless and didn't know what was going to happen next? And then also, what advice would you give to people that might be feeling like that?
Yeah, so I've been in quite a few situations where I thought, this is not right for me. And very recently, which we'll probably go on to when I made the leap and went self-employed, I genuinely felt, whether you're spiritual, woo-woo, whatever, everybody's entitled to feel how they do and believe what they do. I felt genuinely guided. I felt like this is it. And actually, when I had my little boy, my perception on life changed. Did a 360. Now, in some of the roles I did have, I've always treated others how I expect to be treated myself, and I've had that sort of value within my makeup forever. And there were certain roles that I was in where that wasn't happening. And I don't really believe in hierarchy. I know there's managers, and I understand that. And obviously I respect that. But there was part of me that thought, no matter how high up you are in a role, if somebody is good at their job, you should always value and appreciate and show them respect, and, and that you believe they're doing, a good job. So there was many occasion where I was in a role where I thought there's something not quite right here, but it wasn't the right time for me to leave or to make a jump because of external, if you've got bills to pay and what have you. And when my sort of mindset really shifted was in more of a personal setting for me. It was when my husband now, we'd been together for a couple of years, and he actually decided to move down to London, and he moved away from me. Now, had that been a previous relationship, I would have clammed up, been like psycho crazy, texting him all the time, being like, why are you leaving me? What are you doing? Come back, please. Something in me just said, let him go. He needs to do this for him. For whatever reason, I didn't understand at the time. But he'll be back. And if he comes back, then it's meant to be. And I read a book called The Secret. I don't know if you guys have read. Have you? Nodding away. And honestly, it was that and that whole belief system of sort of trusting in your own journey, trusting in your own path, trusting in whatever happens is supposed to happen. All these lessons, all these hard times, like they're sent to you for a reason. And Richard did come back to me. He managed 9 months in London, and then obviously definitely came back because, he knew where his bread was buttered. But I went on a journey of self-growth through that time, and I threw myself into personal development, did tons of reading, and just really trusted that, whatever happens here is supposed to happen. Even if you don't fully believe in that, just having and letting go a little bit and having a little bit of faith makes things a little bit easier. It just feels a bit easier. There's not that pressure on yourself because you know that, there's something external, whatever you believe, at work that is going to sort of step in and give you that bit of help if you need it. So that is sort of where it stems from, I guess. And for anybody that is in an environment now, and I say this, and I work with brides that end up starting wedding businesses because they don't have money to leave wedding planning behind. If you have a passion in something, and I'll say this to my little boy when he's obviously of age to go and do work, your passion will lead you to success. Like when I jumped into the world of self-employment, I didn't chase money. I did not chase, contacts or work. I just put myself into situations where I knew they would benefit the bride. And that was my sole purpose, was to benefit that bride. So I do a lot of work now with sort of sales teams regards actually how to sell to brides without selling to them. It's experience led. Like, this is a journey for them. And if they feel like you're supporting them in the right way, they're going to buy from you. Your sales are going to go up, but you're doing it from a place that feels right and that they know feels right. They don't feel like giving them, their money over to you is something they'll resent because they feel they've been sold to. So going back to your question about if somebody feels in a situation now that they obviously, aren't comfortable with, or they don't feel satisfied or fulfilled, I would say write down. I fully believe in writing lists and journaling and writing down how you feel. And what actually do you want to be doing? What are your qualities that you really feel passionate about, and what makes you tick? This isn't, we're all here to learn about who we are and what makes us individual and what makes us, beneficial to other people. But whilst we're still, in our own cup and keeping ourselves obviously happy and what have you. But the right path will always show itself when you are trying to find it. And I think if you just sit in a situation and you don't make any changes, you can't expect changes to come. But if you do want something to change, whether you work on your mindset, whether you surround yourself with different people, whether you go on a fitness journey, whether you, do a new course, learn a new language, if you are growing, you'll always find, your way, definitely. But if you stay stuck, you're not going to move at all.
Yeah, I mean that's completely true, right? Like if you don't like where you are, you need to change it. Like
Yeah.
one of the things that you have just said is like when you went self-employed, so from working from a bridal shop to just doing your business and going self-employed, you were not chasing money, you were not chasing any of that. However, obviously, like many people want to do their own thing, they start their own business, but they have that fear of obviously like you are working for a company, you have that security that you're going to be paid every month. You don't really need to, I mean, yes, people have objectives, it depends on how the company grows, but you have that, your salary is your salary, right? You're always going to get the same. When you are self-employed, that changes. So how did you navigate suddenly doing the jump from having that security in a way, if like every month I'm going to get this, to even though you were not chasing money, not knowing what was going to be your next paycheck or how much you were going to have for the next month?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, it was a conversation that I was having in my own head for probably, I'd say 12 to 18 months before I actually made the jump. And I kept asking for signs, and I was like, show me, like, it's now the time, like, please, sunrise, sunset, give me a bird, give me a butterfly, whatever it is. And when I did see a really beautiful sunset, actually, and I was like, it's now is the time. But in all seriousness, I had bills to pay when I left, my job. And I did. So what I did was, and the bridal shop were great at this. So they enabled me still to do a lot of my own stuff on the side. So I was helping their brides, but I was also still doing my own thing that I set up through COVID. So I sort of had bits of work. So I would never say to somebody, just jump. Of course, don't just jump. I didn't have a path. I definitely had my passion, and that was what obviously led me. But I did have a few sort of fingers in pies that I knew would sort of help me when I did make that jump. So, I had the odd wedding booked in, but I didn't have enough booked in to cover my bills to start with. And my husband, obviously, he's amazing, but I never wanted to put my risk onto him. Like, it was my choice to make that jump, and he would support me, of course, as I would him. But I knew that this was a risk that I needed to make personally for me. Now, fortunately, I didn't ever have to, rely on Richard, but I do know what you're saying in the sense that I would always advise that you sort of run your side hustle alongside employment until it obviously does take over, or until there's a certain shift where you think, no, actually now is the time to go, which is exactly what I felt. So I thought, right, I don't have the savings behind me. I know I've got X amount in the, that I need to pay every month for my bills, but it just feels right. And I did put a little bit of trust in myself. And what I would say as well is that when you have to make that money and when you have to make things happen, somehow you make it happen. Like, as I said, I put myself in different situations where I was talking to the right people. I was speaking to more brides. I was going to different events, and I wasn't chasing anything. I just was doing things that felt more aligned with what I wanted to do. And naturally, it did just come. Now, the pre-work that I'd done prior to obviously leaving will have had a big sort of input into all of that. But like you say, with being self-employed, you have to have that sort of tenacity where you know that, yes, I thrive off that. So one month, if I knew my bills were if I knew my income was going to be X amount lower, I'd go out and be like, right, I need to talk to more people here. But it always had to feel aligned. Like, I didn't ever want it to feel forced. So I'd just go and, speak to more people that I felt attracted to, or, put myself, or do another retreat, or announce another retreat, or do something that felt in line with obviously what I was trying to achieve. So that's what I would say. But I wouldn't ever say to anybody, of course, don't just like jump and be like, save me, universe, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I absolutely as well. Before I do anything, like if you could see all my notepads, I have got it all sort of planned out. I was very, very planned. I felt guided, but I was very sort of like my outline and my business plan was there. It was something I was working on, really since I was working on it essentially since I got married.
Mm-hmm.
The business model was there. It just needed fattening out, and then obviously I just needed that, that sort of leap. And the work was sort of there, ready to be had. The retreats were needed. The wedding coordination was needed. The one-to-one coaching was needed. So I just had to put myself into that situation and obviously be like, guys, let's go. I'm sort of here now and ready. So that's sort of how it happened.
So you've told us that you're obviously a mum. So
yes,
how old is your son? And then also, like, you said you've got more motivated since having a child, which I can relate to as well. But can you tell us a bit about how you balance everything? Like, would you have any tips?
Yeah, so my little boy he's 2.5, so he was 2 in March. So I was pregnant on my wedding day and didn't know about it. So he just came along and was like this perfect end point to our, strange sort of wedding planning journey. My pregnancy, I'm one of these that probably a lot of people seem to hate people like me because I enjoyed pregnancy. I loved my birth. I was very I did hypnobirthing, so I was very sort of zen. As you can imagine, I was very sort of, tuned into this. And it really benefited me. And obviously I enjoyed my birth. Now, when Teddy arrived, it was like I felt hugely responsible for, as you do when you're a parent, I felt hugely responsible for this child's perception of the world. Now, my perception of the world, in some situations, I don't like it. And I think the world that obviously our children have grown up in at times is quite daunting and quite scary. So I knew that I had to give him the best example through how Rich and myself obviously behaved to each other, to our friends, to our family, in a work setting. Now, my mum and dad, they are the best people to me, and they were very much like they tried to give me and my sister everything that they could. Now, I obviously would do the same for Teddy. However, I'm very different. I'm probably a bit more modern mindset of thinking that as long as you are doing something you enjoy and are passionate about, not necessarily educational. I'm from that background. I had the education, but as long as you are passionate about what you are doing, as I said at the beginning, I believe that that's obviously what will lead eventually to the success that you want. Now, balancing being a mum and doing all that I do, I'll be really honest with you, the only thing that sort of allows me to do that is my planner. Like, I physically have a planner, right? I am one of these geeks, have it all on my phone, but I also have it in a planner, and it is by the hour. And if I don't stick to that, wow, like, stuff goes off in here, and then I feel really guilty, and I feel, like I'm not doing enough work, and I'm not spending enough time with Teddy, and I go to the gym. So how I manage it is purely by being very, very disciplined. Now, when I first became a mum, obviously you don't have any sort of like routine or anything when you're first a parent, and you just sort of winging it. And I look back now, and I was definitely winging it initially, but I did implement routine and structure quite early on. So probably I'd say I noticed a change in me around 5 months when I thought I sort of had my stuff together. So at that point, I threw myself back into work, back into gym, and I started doing that beforehand, but more sort of regimented stuff. So I knew, because I've been sad Alex, and I've been up here Alex. Like, I know what's needed to get me up here, and that is exercise, bit of self-care, doing stuff for myself, having a tidy house-ish. My mum would disagree with me on that. And it's, having my ducks in a row. I kind of thrive off routine. So I knew I had to implement those things, and I knew I had to go and do those things for me. And at no point did I feel guilt for that, because I knew if I was happy, he would be happy and Rich would be happy. And there's a lot of stigma around mums taking time for themselves, or, or you hear, like, I've lost myself. And that support for a new mum, or for a mum that's now got 2, 3, 4, 5, however many children, that support and that sort of safe space to say, it's okay to take a bit of time for yourself. You are not a bad person for doing so. And just that hand on the shoulder, or that holding of the arm around you, saying, we've got you, like, we feel the same as you. It is okay to take that time. Go and have that bath. Go and have your hair washed. Go for a walk. Go to the gym. Whatever it may be, you need to do it, because if you're not topping your cup up, it will just drain and drain and drain, and then you're not the best, obviously, for those around you. So I was very sort of strict on that from the beginning, because I knew it was really important. But my planner is the answer to your question. My planner, in a nutshell.
I mean, I do agree. Like, if you feel good with yourself and you take care of yourself, then you will be able to take care of everybody else. And if you're happy, then everybody will be happy. There is nothing worse to, like, be not in the right mindset, not in the right place.
Yeah.
And then anything that anybody tells you just gets on top of it. And then it's not great. But changing topics, let's talk about weddings. The things that you said at the beginning. Yeah. It's an example, for example. One of the things that you said at the beginning, like that you created this to kind of like give that support to brides, and that might feel a little bit lost, or that they feel that they need to conform with certain society expectations, or regarding their weddings and stuff. So I have not really started planning my wedding yet, because I know it's going to be 2026, 2027, if so, because it's expensive.
Yes, it
Need
is.
to save.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, I want to have a destination wedding. I don't want to do it here in the UK, because I'm from Spain, so I have a lot of people in Spain. We have a lot of people here in the UK. I have people in the US, New Zealand, everywhere. So I was like, let's do a destination wedding. And then when you start, like, telling people, oh yeah, it's going to be a destination wedding, there is, oh, you need to think about this and this person that have kids, and you have to think about this and that, and what about this and what about that. And I was like, it's my wedding. Like, why do I need to think about everybody else on what is going to be my day? And it's like, but you don't want them to come. And I'm like, yes, of course I want everybody to come, but at the same time, I want my wedding to have the aesthetics that I want. I want the photos to look a certain way. I want the background to be this and that. So it's like, should I compromise on what I want just to be able to have more people at my wedding?
Absolutely not. In a nutshell, no. And I'll tell you the reasons why. There's a few reasons why. So when you are planning a wedding, you will find that some people, a lot of it is to do with projection, and a lot of it is to do with people's own experiences of wedding planning and what they wish they'd done or what they'd wish they'd had. They'll then try and sort of make the next person do that, or, if it's obviously a relative, they can also try and, bring generational stuff down and things like that. So it's really important, and I was only having a conversation with a bride today about this, that you need to be able to look back on your wedding photographs and have every single person that you want in that space. It needs to look exactly as you want it to, and you need to have spent the money that you want to on it, because if you don't, you will regret it. And I know that because I have worked with a lot of brides now that maybe got married in COVID, that had smaller weddings. They didn't want to have smaller weddings, but they felt they had to conform and to just get married and to just do. They now look back and regret that, because they wish they'd waited, because it was a temporary situation. What isn't a temporary situation is your wedding day. And what also I always say to couples is that these lessons that present themselves to you when you are getting married. So I had quite a few regards friends and family members. And actually, if I'd look back, the lessons probably presented themselves to me before I was engaged and before I was getting married. But I wasn't aware of them. I just sort of like brushed them off and just like put, under the carpet sort of situation. When you're getting married, it's very heightened. Everything feels more like everything, is either more positive or it's more negative. You just feel everything more. You're more aware. You're more sort of, eyes are open, heart's open. You feel very vulnerable, and you are sort of watching what people do and how they behave. So these lessons of these people that you're talking about, and say you loosely because everybody feels the same way, they'll present themselves to you when you are getting married, and it's an opportunity to fix it. Because if you fix it in a heightened state of emotion, that habit and that boundary that you set will be set forever. Whereas if you allow it to keep presenting itself to you, and these friends and these family members keep, saying the same things or treating you in the same way, if you choose to have children, if you don't, if you go on to a new job, move country, new house, their opinions will come up again. And it's like, here you are again, giving me that same spiel, that same narrative that I don't want to listen to, but I've never dealt with it. So it will keep happening until you deal with it. And it just so happens that it's presenting itself again to you when you are getting married. And I always say that it is the best time to implement boundaries, because wow, like once you're married and you're in that next big phase of your life and you're moving through and you're doing everything you need to do, you don't want anyone around you that doesn't support you. You need that circle and that family and that friend unit to be really tight. And, it's a time where you are able to just go, you know what, I'm not, no, and no. And you can be nice about it. Like I've had to get, people laugh when I say I got rid of a bridesmaid, and I've had certain situations happen since that. And I think I didn't ever do it horribly. Like I'm not a horrible person, so I couldn't do it horribly. But that conversation has to be had and that boundary has to be set, because otherwise it will keep rearing its ugly head and you'll keep feeling like you're being taken advantage of. And that's not what we're here to do. Like we're here to, enjoy our time. So yeah, I would say that if that's arising for anybody getting married, I would say sitting down with your partner and really talking it through, and then how you are going to address it. Because if you don't address it, it will just keep happening.
Yeah.
And it'll just feel like a constant niggle that you don't ever deal with, and you'll be annoyed at yourself for not dealing with it. Whereas if you do deal with it and you face it head on, and it's never as bad as we always think it's going to be, you'll feel really proud of yourself then for obviously sorting it out. And it's like a bit of a grown-up sort of tick.
I literally said, like, whatever, then we'll just elope, and I'll just have how I want it, like if I'm just like whatever, no one comes, it's fine.
Yeah, no one comes.
Just me in the back.
Yeah. Aww. That's it though. Like we ended up having 3 dates, and as in 2 were cancelled and the third date happened. And I must have chopped off like at least 6 people off each day. I was like, they're not getting a new invitation, because they just either didn't communicate with us, didn't ask how we were, which, is fine. I get everybody's got their own stuff going on. That's something that I talk about quite a lot with people. It's having that, don't put too much expectations on others, because everybody's got their own life. However, if you can sort of see that someone's being a dick, and the difference between someone being busy and someone being an ass and just not being on board with your wedding plans, then I would just say, no, just get rid, definitely.
So you just need a couple of dates in, and then you can just do it like that and chop people off each time.
Yeah,
that's it. Just do a series of invites.
Chopping with a knife.
Yeah, it is. It's hard.
So if anybody would like to get in contact with you after this, so if we have any brides listening who think, actually, I would really benefit from this, can you give us information about where they can find you?
Yes. So obviously I'm on Instagram, and I love Instagram, of course I do, but face-to-face stuff, sort of our events that we do, which we've got a lot planned in 2025, you'll be able to find us at all of those. But Instagram, so Bride in Mind is my main one, at Bride in Mind. And then we do have our supplier sort of sourcing website, which is at _ the Bridal Lab. And the main website now is thebridallab.co.uk, so you can get in touch with us there as well. But yeah, we love working with brides. It's the best.
And before we finish,
Definitely.
is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that we've not talked about?
No, I just think that maybe the one thing actually is to not get too bogged down in social media, regards obviously your wedding planning, because those stories last 24 hours. The memories that you will make throughout this entire journey last forever. And it isn't just about that day either. It's about, you know, those 18, 24, 32 months in advance that you are planning. There's a lot that can happen in that time. And I think if you make sure that you focus on the journey, not just the day, you don't become resentful then spending money on it. You're able to avoid wedding blues. Like, oh, there's a whole host of stuff I could go into. But I think if you just focus on your journey and learning about yourselves as a couple, as an individual, those around you, and sort of not getting bogged down in social media pressures and just really leading with your heart and your gut, you won't go far wrong. That's what I would say.
If that's okay, Jasmine, like, we know a little bit more about like what does it consist if someone books you to be their bridal coach or wedding coach or what?
Yes.
What do you do with them?
Yeah.
Does that work? Is it a program? And then the same with the bridal retreats, like what happened on those days?
Yeah. So bridal coaching, if I can sort of explain it it either gets booked in blocks or I'm just with you throughout the whole time that you're wedding planning. So it's essentially wedding planning with mindset techniques intertwined throughout it all. And also it is more about, so it's preparing you for these bigger sort of monumental moments throughout planning your wedding. So your dress shopping, venue, budget, suits are important, rings, photographer, pre-wedding shoots, all these sort of big moments that people sort of clam up against or feel a bit, you know, like wedding dress shopping is probably the biggest one, that there are a lot of misconceptions around it, a lot. And having worked in a bridal shop, my insight is massive on that. But that's something that a lot of people do find stressful. And again, it doesn't need to be if it's done right. So I work with the bride, right? My ideal situation is that a couple come to me right at the beginning. We talk budget, and then we talk about your must-haves and your desirable suppliers, which ones are obviously important to both of you. Then you assign your budget, what's left over, have a contingency pot, because that's always essential, because we know that you can literally throw hundreds of pounds at weddings and you don't even know where it blinking goes. It is, so yeah, Soraya, it is obviously, it's a minefield out there. And then on the day, the way that I work is very different. I also send meditation packages out in the sort of 4 week before the wedding, because that's when your mind starts to go a little bit crazy, in the sense that you're obviously panicking that you've done everything. I started having weird dreams about my husband, thinking, is he the right person? I was dreaming about my ex-partners. It is a very weird time. And I know that I only admit that because I know that I'm not on my own. Probably wouldn't have admitted it if I didn't think that other people were doing it.
Yeah.
But I started seeing like all the negatives in Rich. I was like, God, no, I can't marry this person. Horrendous. Oh my God, what is going on? Run away. So I very much work closely. Like that last 4 to 8 weeks is very, very sort of heightened and very intense. And then on the day, that's my favourite bit, because I obviously get to be you in non-bridal form. And the way that it sort of differs to wedding planning, I very much am there to sort of help you. Well, we discussed this beforehand, but remind you to take moments on your day. So when people say to you, it goes so fast, of course it does. Every day does. So your wedding day is definitely going to. But it's making sure that you're present and very focused and very aware of what's going on around you. Certain like parts of the day where you'll actually take a step back and take it all in, and being reminded of that, that's priceless in itself, to just say, guys, just stop a second, just take a look around, or have a drink together, or, you know, and talking to her before she walks down the aisle and saying to her, like, head up, look round, make eye contact, but then look at everybody smiling at you.
So
big
you
smiles.
are Jennifer Lopez in that movie.
I am her.
Yes.
I am her. That is me, except not as beautiful as her.
Yes, you are.
I don't know, which film is this? I don't know.
Wedding. Is it called Wedding Planner?
Yeah,
what's it called, the movie?
It's literally called. We'll have to find it.
Let me do some research. But yeah, I was like, yes, you are as beautiful, maybe not as rich, because that's hard to do.
Yeah, not
But
as
there's
rich.
a lot of
Not as
that.
rich. Yeah, she is.
You are
And she
as
is just.
beautiful.
Well, how old is she? And she's literally like, wow.
50 something, right?
Wow. Yeah, she is. Wow. And
Wedding
then
planner, yes, it is.
swiftly, yeah, wedding planner. Swiftly and quickly moving on to the retreats, but taking nothing away from them because, yeah, wow, she looks so young on there. So the retreats are very much based around brides that are wanting to heighten their journey. So brides that are going, it's the sort of conversation that every bride has where they'll say, oh, it's going too quick, or I don't feel like I'm doing enough bridal stuff, or I just want to sit and talk about a wedding all day and I can't because no one wants to listen. The bridal retreats, they're often hosted at a wedding venue because they're set up and they're geared up for those sorts of events. And it's a good opportunity for the wedding venue then to either provide a service for their existing clients or prospective clients, or, brides that aren't getting married there, but they may have a friend that's getting married and recommend it. So it's a great opportunity for the suppliers and the venues as well. But at the heart of it, so there's a group of suppliers that I truly put my sort of wedding planning positive story down to. And that was fitness, skincare, mindset and wellness. So all of those aspects I incorporate into the retreat. So I want to give the brides exposure to the things that help me in hope that it'll obviously help them. So we have budget masterclass, which is run by my best friend who's a financial advisor. We have skincare masterclass, which is run by my own skincare lady, who is also a bride-to-be actually. Then we've got a fitness masterclass, which talks all around. There's again negative stigma around going on fitness and weight loss journeys or weight gain journeys, and I just think women just need to support one another a bit better and just allow people to just be. Whatever you want to do should be allowed, and that is really what these retreats are about. It's about hearing these brides, letting them talk about their plans, empowering them to plan in the way they want to do it, surrounding them with really good people, and then sending them on their way so they plan in a totally different way where they just feel encouraged to bring their day to life in the way that they always wanted to do, whilst it's in a lovely venue with loads of gifts, and they all get to wear white, so it's lovely.
Amazing.
It is
Awesome.
lovely. Yeah, so yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
It's kind of like a little mini hen party for all the brides.
It is.
Can we just come you qualify, you can go to one and I can just come along as a friend.
Yeah. We do. We have friends and we have mums that come, and some brides do come on their own as well.
Yeah. But it sounds fantastic.
So all welcome.
Yeah.
It is. It's lovely. It is lovely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so nice to
thank you for having me.
I want to get married again. I'm going to restart this conversation about vow renewals now.
Vow renewal.
It's reignited my passion for a vow renewal, so I'm going to speak to Liam when we go to bed.
Yes.
Yes.
But that'll be good conversation before bed.
Yeah.
Good conversation before bed.
So we'll be like, not again.
Yeah, I know. Oh.
Who did you talk to
thank you so much. Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everyone that's listening to the podcast as well. Make sure you follow on Instagram, Female Striving Over 30, and over on TikTok as well, so that you can see all of our content, latest episodes, and everything we're getting up to. And we'll speak to you all again very soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.